Yo, what's up, guys? Jairus here, and welcome to another episode of Jairus Inspires Podcast. And you know what? It makes me happy. This makes me happy because I see more and more Filipinos in this podcast, which is, I'm really proud of. So, Keith, another Filipino, a
What's
content
up?
creator, and works for Emirates Love Philippines,
Apo.
and you are just the I think one, two, three, four, five, probably the sixth Filipino guest here at podcast, which makes me happy, bro. Thank you so much. Just the background, we just met literally like a week ago,
Oo.
in an event.
Yeah, Filipino Creator Summit
Yes.
sa Fearless Fab Flamingo.
Actually, what I'm seeing is videos, online. I mean, his videos gets millions of views. It just goes through my page almost every minute, bro.
Oo, nakakagulat.
Yeah.
Nakakagulat. It humbles me to this day.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's not, I mean, again, I'm just seeing this guy on my feed, and now he's in front of me.
But I think I mean in my defense, ang nakikita naman yata itong braso. So,
Yeah, exactly.
this is like the most
Yeah.
famous arm in social media right now. I think.
Okay. Yeah, bro. Okay, so let's begin with of course, I think Emirates Love. I think that's a good starting point for your for this podcast. So, how did you begin working in Emirates Love?
3 years ago, exactly 3 years ago, I was working with ARN at the time. Yun yung COVID job ko.
Okay.
It's what got me through COVID. And I was looking at LinkedIn and I saw this job posting for Nas Daily.
Oh,
Nag-apply ako.
yeah, you mentioned that.
Nag-apply ako. And by the way, I was not a fan of Nas Daily. I was just like, I should know.
Sorry, Nas.
This is a page that is familiar to me subconsciously, but I just can't place it.
Yeah,
So
true.
Google ko, nakita ko yung videos. I'm like, oh, it's that. So I want to be a part of that. So apply ako. And then next thing I know, it's not Nas Daily. Nandun siya sa
But he was there during the interview.
Yeah,
as
nandun
you
siya sa
mentioned.
interview.
Okay.
And I think the first thing he said to me was like, whoa, you're from the Philippines and you can speak English this much? And I'm like, how did you learn that? I'm like, this is what you get when you binge watch Star Wars as a 7-year-old. Which is a true story, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. So long story short, got the job, and then my first job was a scriptwriter. I was pretty much behind the scenes, and I was working with this very, very talented woman named Josie.
Okay.
So her name is, ano siya, nasa Love Josie siya. So
Love Josie.
she's running Love Josie now.
Is Love Josie part of the NAS?
No.
Okay,
Separate.
different. Okay.
So basically, anong nangyari, scriptwriter ako. A year later, na-promote ako into page manager. Ako na yung nakikipagbadagulan sa comments.
Okay.
And nagpo-post ng videos and all that. Just handling the day-to-day. Because Josie got promoted to a project manager. Siya yung nag-head ng Emirates Loves.
Got it.
And then, I had this, I think, midway into my career, like about 2 years back. Sorry, about 2 years into the career. So, that would put it maybe last year. Nagla-lunch ako. Tapos, I had this epiphany. Na parang, normally, pag nagla-lunch ako, kumakain ako, tapos nagbabrowse ako ng phone. And then, at the time, I saw this video by Daniel Mac. Yung Cool Car, What Do You Do For a Living? We've all seen the videos. And it dawned on me that, wait a minute, if I'm watching this while I'm having lunch, there are other people like me in this country, in this planet, who are in this exact same just set of circumstances. Bored sila, gusto nila na mapapanood during lunch. So, naisip ko, I have to be that person.
Got it.
And then the second thing that dawned on me as well during that lunch break was that Daniel Mac did not have a camera. He had a mobile phone. At the time, Emirates Loves was a full production. We had cameras, we had lights like this. Nothing wrong with it kasi we were still following the Nas Daily formula of do this, do that. And then, naisip ko, this guy is onto something kasi hindi ka naman gagawa ng street interview, susugurin mo siya na may dala kang Ronin, tapos may dala kang micro, may dala kang camera, especially in Dubai. Nako, baka inaresto na ako,
So you're
diba?
saying for sure there's agreement beforehand. Okay.
Oo. So parang naisip ko, he's onto something, I should do that. I should bring that here kasi I think wala pang gumagawa noon ng street interviews. So yun yung naging in ko. And also coinciding with that, I was also in this season in my life na ako yung nagsusulat. So parang I wanted to bring my own words to life,
got it.
to screen. And yung very first video ko is about this Filipino who helped design yung isang generation ng Porsche 911. Sobrang terrible nung video na yun. Like, finlash mo yun sa harapan ko right now, mag-freak out ako. Kasi parang sabi ko, grabe, sobrang antigas ng katawan ko. Yung pitch ko ng boses ko, hindi ko ma-modulate. Kasi parang I was faking it.
Oh yeah,
Tas,
sure.
I found my niche sa street interviews kasi I can just talk to you, talk to people the way that I'm talking to you right now. Like, ano, how much do you pay for that? And then that's the long version of a very interesting story. And
Yeah, that's good.
and I actually going back to it, ang goal ko lang talaga as when I left the Philippines was gusto ko lang, ayoko pa nga pumunta ng Dubai. I wanted to be a public school teacher.
Oh wow.
Na I finished literature. Ayun, I'm a literature graduate. Tapos ang gusto ko lang magturo sa public school. My parents had a wildly different idea of what my future was. And then, a week after graduation, dinala nila ako dito. And then told me to find a job. And then I landed one, but nagbebenta ako ng ballpen.
Oh, yeah,
So,
as you mentioned, yeah.
let's say you want a ballpen that has the My Dubai branding. We do that. So stuck there for about 2 years, and then I was just coasting along. I mean, nangangarap ko to do something amazing with life. And then I found my break with this very, very, very small outdoor magazine, sports magazine called Outdoor UAE. And yeah, I stayed there for a year. And then one of the friends I met there referred me to College Times. So became a journalist. It was the dream job of a lifetime. At the time, and stuck there for 2 years. Nag-resign ako during COVID. Kasi I was supposed to have joined this lifestyle magazine in Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
Pagkalipat ko sa Abu Dhabi, nag-lockdown.
Ooh, just right after you moved. Okay.
Tapos na-stranded ako for 2 weeks. Hindi nag-materialize yung job. Tulog ako sa couch ng magulang ko.
Oh.
For during the pandemic. Even nung nagtatrabaho sa event, sleeping on the parents' couch.
Okay, so I mean, we all have stories during the pandemic, you know. So the pandemic, you lost your job.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then how long since you got your next job?
Mga 5 months.
5 months right
Kasi
after losing your job. Okay.
Kasi alam ko mid of 2020 ko nakuha yung ARN.
Okay, mid of 2020. So that's basically still during the pandemic, right?
Ano, tama, mid of 2020. Mahina yung sense of time ko. I think that was 2021. Basta alam kong ginagawa ko lang, tutulog ako sa couch, igising ako, maglalaro kami ng kapatid ko ng Apex Legends. Tapos rinse and repeat for like, hindi ko na alam kung anong araw.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so I want to go back to
Yes.
Emirates Love. Okay, because I just want to give a context because most of my viewers are English speaking, but for sure they somehow watch Emirates Love content, right?
All right. So okay.
So Emirates Love is how you call it, viral channel.
Well, yeah. So
Yeah, right.
All right. So first of all, since there are English listeners, so I think let's have a gentleman's agreement that from here on out we're gonna speak English.
That's why I'm
All right.
Even though my English is broken, I'm still
all right.
keep going.
All right. English it is. So yeah.
Okay, Emirates Love Philippines is a viral page. We make viral videos.
So I will repeat the mission and vision of Emirates Love. So Emirates Love is a community page, and we make videos showcasing the love between the people of the Emirates and the people of the Philippines.
Okay.
The TLDR of that is that we make videos showcasing the lives of Filipinos here and also beyond. Kasi slip. Because we want to show that Filipinos are successful. So it's basically a success story channel.
Yeah, that's good.
And also, as a way for us to inform the Filipinos here of what's happening here, like the news, like certain policies like visas or whatnot.
Sure.
But at its heart, it's about celebrating the lives of Filipinos,
and
it's a very novel idea because when before I joined, even before I knew about Emirates Loves, I've always had this stigma in my mind that when you say that you're a Filipino in the Middle East, people immediately conjure images of like you're being abused, you're being battered.
Exactly.
In which there were anecdotes of that, like long before, like in the 90s, like some whatever you see on Philippine news channels, like a certain person in Kuwait got into trouble, certain person in this got into trouble. So there is ground for that, but it's not always that. So the goal of Emirates Loves is to show that, hey, Filipinos have a better have a better life here. Let me show you.
Yeah. It's something that I actually want to do in this podcast. It's one of my goal in this podcast. So I invited a lot of Filipinos, but I don't know why. But a lot of Filipinos are not comfortable. I don't know, maybe speaking in front of the camera or maybe speaking in English. So I always get rejected. I mean, sad to say. Yeah. So that was, I told you, I was very happy that another Filipino stepped in to to speak in front of this podcast. So yeah, I want to interview a lot of Filipinos. I want to show my followers, because my followers are mostly international. So of course, I want to show that Filipinos are not just nannies or.
Thank you. I was gonna say that, but I kept on holding back because I didn't know whether I should go for it.
I mean,
not.
Why not? I mean, it's a common stereotype of Filipinos.
We're either nannies, nurses, or blank. Oh yeah, in the service industry. I mean, nothing wrong with that, because
exactly.
what I've learned in 2 years of Emirates Loves is that success is not just, oh, look at this person, he drives a fancy car. Look at this person, she has a fancy apartment.
Yes.
It's about satisfaction.
Yeah, that's true. I like how you interview Filipinos with sports car. You know what you mentioned earlier, the only Filipino guy with a Nissan
GTR. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you have a lot of those stories. Especially I saw recently the fixed chocolate chef, right?
That story was wild.
Yeah.
Because at the time, I saw. By the way, I saw him getting interviewed on Tag, and it sparked a curiosity in me, like, why should I know about this person? So Google, there was only one article about him from Arab News.
But is the viral chocolate already viral by the time?
Yes,
or
yes.
Okay, but there's only one.
It was at the height of virality.
Oh.
Only one article, and what boggles me is that why is it from a foreign news agency? It's not even in a Filipino news site.
Exactly.
So I figured, you know what? This person deserved the spotlight. So, again, Google, and then jumps to Facebook. Luckily, there was a mobile number. So, called him up, and then, fortunately, his office is near my office.
Okay.
So, me and my videographer, take the metro, one stop, and then walk, and then make the video, and I tell him, Chef, there's no other way to start this video other than this. I will say that let's try the viral Dubai chocolate because that's what everybody knows. And then in the middle of my sentence, I want you to interject, like stop, like shut me up and say, I made that.
Okay.
I want you to say it with so much authority, because people know, and how do you say it? My goal in the video is to dispel the initial notion that it was invented by someone else, because that was the prevailing knowledge. I was guilty of believing that as well.
Yeah.
And when I saw Tag was saying otherwise, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
This is Tag. I mean, it's not in their ballpark to lie or whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a very good research team.
Yeah.
So sparks my curiosity.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Just to add to that, I mean, even the lady I was with during the seminar, she doesn't know that the viral chocolate made by Filipinos. She only found out during the seminar with you. I showed her your page.
Yeah.
First video, the viral chocolate chef, and she was surprised that the chef is Filipino.
Yeah.
You know. So again, it's not a common knowledge that Filipino made
Yeah.
the Dubai viral thing. You know.
Yeah, those are the kind of videos that excite me. Like, it's like when I have this certain knowledge and I know that not everyone knows it, and you just want to blurt it out to the world. I think that's the journalist in me speaking. Because when you have a story and you want to break it, it's like, oh, I'm so gonna beat the competitor. So I think it's a takeaway from my journalism days.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Keith, what I really admire about you is storytelling.
Oh, thank you.
It's something
thank
I want to learn. I want to ask you, how do you when you have an idea, like what's your style in storytelling? I wanna just give me a few words about your style.
I draw inspiration from other creators. That's what I do. So that's why I know my spirit animals are Daniel Mac, and then there's other guy called Gabriel DeSanti. He's the so basically Daniel Mac did the whole what do you do for a living. I love it because you get to see people that are that you don't regularly see in the public eye, like these rich people with these fancy cars, and that's I think with human nature, how do you say it? When we see those people in like an everyday situation,
Yeah.
just like that, it sends a message to your brain like, maybe I could meet this person as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not just Emirates Loves who can meet this person. It gives accessibility. It brings that person down to earth.
Okay.
Na parang, this can just be someone you meet on the
Yeah.
street. And then Gabriel Santi did the same thing but with jobs. Wherein ano how do you say it? He shows jobs like not regular fancy jobs, regular jobs, and
Yeah.
it's all about like the humanizing. So ayun, I draw inspiration from other creators. Plus, I know Emirates Loves being Emirates Loves. It's all about the success.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I created that street interview formula is, I took the first half of those street interviews, like from the Daniel Mac and all. So I figured what does work, the money part.
Oh yeah.
It appeals to the Filipino sense of
Everyone.
we have to talk
Yeah.
about money.
Money. Yeah.
It appeals to the chismis. So for the English speakers, chismis simply means gossip.
Gossip.
So
Yes.
we love talking about each other's affairs.
True.
Some more, some of us more than most. But basically, I figured, okay, that let's take that formula. Let's take that, and then what do we attach? So what if I'll ask you, if you saw someone with a Ferrari, and you know the price, and you know the person, then wouldn't the next question in your mind be, what does this guy
What
actually
the hell
do?
this guy doing?
How the hell can he afford it?
Exactly.
So that's question number 2. Ask the person what they do for a living, obviously. And then how do you make it MS Loves? MS Loves is again a platform for Filipino success. So you have to insert the UAE somehow. So in the context of houses, Filipinos don't live here by choice. They maybe they do. Like,
Some. Yeah.
yeah, some do live they don't have a choice, or but basically, if you're in the Philippines, your immediate goal is not to oh, I want to work abroad, I want to do that. So you have to have a reason to be here. So that's my let's make this Emirates Lab. So that's the third question. What do you like about living here? So
Okay.
kasi
Got it.
it paints, it compels the guest to paint the UAE in a positive light, because you've been living here for quite some time. You have a beautiful flat, or otherwise. So you have to have a reason why you're here.
Okay.
And my best example of that is the video that is very close. That is the closest to me is, we made this video with a cleaner. She lives in a bed space in Satwa. She pays 600 dirhams for a rent. And it's pretty much a spitting image of what every Filipino bed space should look like. So bunk beds, there's a curtain for privacy. And when I saw it, I began to wonder, so how can I ask this person what she likes about living in the UAE? So
knowing her situation.
and then while my videographer was filming, I don't know what came over me. I just blurted it out. I asked her, "Ate, are you happy with your living conditions?" And I never expected the answer, and she just said yes. And she told me that at the end of the day, I'm a Filipino. I work here. I provide for my family. This place is just for sleeping.
True.
And I'm not ashamed to show it, because I have property in the Philippines. I've saved enough here. If I save here, if I live like this here, then it means I have a better life to go back to.
That's true.
And that video has stuck with me, and I made that 2 years ago, and it's still one of my best videos.
Yeah.
Even if there are other videos that have made more views than it's still the best video for me.
Okay. So I just want to go back to your storytelling. I think it's at the beginning you love starting with curiosity, right?
Sorry?
Right away. Start with curiosity, right?
Yeah, start with
curiosity, and then the payoff at the end.
Uh-oh.
Like what you said about
Yeah.
the bed space Filipino. So Yeah, I mean, this is what I like about having this podcast. It's not just about me trying to inspire people, but it's also about me learning from my guest.
Oh, thank you.
Again, I want to. It's not just. I'm not saying I'm the best, but I want to grow even further. Hence, why one of the reasons why I love putting this podcast, because at the same time I'm learning as well. I'm learning. I've learned a lot since I started this podcast. To be honest with you, if I'll be honest with you, so even my talking skills, my hosting skills,
Yeah, because
and now storytelling, I'm getting some tricks and tips for you.
Live when I started with Emirates Loves, I was but a scriptwriter. I identified as a writer. I
Yeah.
never thought that I would have enough bravery to go in front of the camera, because if you told me 2 years ago na, oh Keith, you need to be on camera, I'm like, no, not gonna happen, bro. But I think it's also what I'm learning in this other page, in this other project that I'm in. It's a personal project, and it's just my way to unwind from Emirates Loves. But it's also it's also as a way to exercise my storytelling,
Sure.
because when uh, because when you work in a company, you have to worry about, like, oh, you have to there are KPIs to reach.
Sure.
So I didn't want to fall into that trap of just worrying about the KPI and making a video for the sake of making a viral video.
Okay.
So I started this project. It's named after me, at Keith Perena on Instagram. And my whole idea is, I just want to make videos. I just want to tell stories that stick to me, appeal to me, and I feel that this hasn't been talked about much, and we should talk about. We should bring it to the spotlight.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
shameless plug. Sorry about that. By the way, please stop me when I get carried away, because that happens more often than not.
Okay, Kid, I just wanna know, how do you manage the pressure from not just creating content, but meeting the numbers? Because for me, I'll tell you personally, I never had any brand that asked me for numbers, that demanded me for numbers. It's not my. I don't think it's not my thing. So numbers is not my strength. But it's the quality. It's the inspiring. But for you, you have to do both. You have to be consistent. You have to produce quality work, storytelling, at the same time produce numbers. So how do you handle the pressure? To be
I
honest,
don't.
You don't.
I don't.
You handle it by not handling it, right?
I am so gonna get fired after this podcast. But yeah. Nice knowing you, Rashid. Nice knowing you, Ruba. But yeah, I don't, because I never really thought of my job as a job. I think it's I've always perceived it as a passion project that I want to give to Filipinos. That I need to show you guys this story, because it's awesome. Because when I heard it from whoever gave to me that lead, I'm like, oh, this is cool. So it must be cool to you. So, and sometimes I do get anxiety attacks about my numbers.
Yeah, right.
But
Right.
at
Because the
the-
thing is, there's sometimes algorithm you don't have control.
Exactly.
Most of the time, you don't have control with algorithms. So, I mean, it's something that you are rated for without even have the control,
Exactly.
full control of it.
Like, even now at this juncture, I mean, last year I knew how I was confident with the formula that, okay, this works. Now, no. Like, of course, by the way, the street interviews still do bring numbers, but I think I'm at that point in my career at MSF where I'm thinking of, okay, what's next after this? I can't just be that guy.
Yeah,
I have to. We have to constantly evolve, because if we're not evolving, then we're not learning, are we? And you fall into that trap of being too complacent. Like, oh, people watch this watch this because it works, but you don't want to be in that trap. So right now, this week, me and my videographer just did all these crazy things, and I went again. I went on a lunch break, and that's where I found, like, all these other ideas that stuck with me. Like, oh, this is cool, and maybe I should do this. Maybe we should play around a bit. So, and that made me fall in love again with the job. Oh, diba?
Bawi.
You can't fire me that easy.
Does it affect your work? For example, if you release a video right now and it gets really bad numbers, does it affect your next video, or does it motivate you? How that works?
From an emotional
Or you don't care?
from an emotional standpoint, it does.
Yeah,
Because
right.
this is very, very true. If I have this video that I can feel like, oh, this is gonna be so big, it's gonna go viral, and then boom.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything. So that hits me more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it gives you the motivation to keep going, and I think that's the
Sure.
beauty of having it as a day job, because
Mm-hmm.
you have another. Basically, you have three chances of winning. You have another video to post on Wednesday. Okay, maybe that will work, and then if that doesn't work, maybe the Friday one will work. Maybe that won't work. Back to next week,
Oh yeah,
and
that's good.
that pushes you to innovate. When you have this, it's like having a gun pointed at you, like make content, and then
Give me numbers.
you're compelled to do more. You're compelled to do more. So I'd say it's a double-edged sword. And I mean that's why I created my page, because I wanted to take a breather from that,
Okay.
because you can't have the gun pointed at you at all time
Sure.
at all times. So
Yeah.
so I needed to step back
Mhm.
and rediscover the reason why I love what I do in the first place, and that's what's happening right now. And my page has very terrible numbers. It's struggling, but I figured, you know what, this is fun.
Yeah.
Because-
As long as you're enjoying,
yeah,
right?
I'm enjoying. I'm asking people like weird questions. I'm telling stories that sometimes gets blocked on TikTok. You should unban my video TikTok. But to me, it's I don't care. As long as for me, I get this, even if it gets blocked in one platform, and if it doesn't get in only in one platform, then that's fine. But if it goes big in elsewhere, then I've done my part. Plus, to me, and this is my mantra. I'm gonna share it to everyone. So, storytellers at its core, we should always remember that we are not storytellers only. We take debt. May utang tayo. So, I say that because from even when I was in the newspaper, I've enjoyed interviewing people since I was in the newspaper. And what I noticed is that it's not just an interview, it's also an exchange. It's an exchange of thoughts. So when you tell me your story, you don't just give it away to someone. You're not gonna give your story to the very first person you meet. So what you're giving me has value to you. So when you give that to me, that value gets transferred to me, and now it's my debt. And I can only repay that debt if and only if I craft your story so good, and I put it up, and 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 I get a thank you, or I get like, oh, this video is you made my story so well, this video is so good. And that's the payment. That's how I repay the debt.
Wow. That's, I
And-
mean, whew, that's the first time I've heard that kind of.
And it's dictated how I work since day one.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Every story I take is debt. And I need to repay all of that.
It's a really cool way to think about storytelling.
Yeah, because it humbles you. It's not, you suddenly don't look at it from a way that, oh, I have all this information, now I'm free to do anything with it. Now it's like, I have all this information. By the way, it's not just the pitch that changes. I have all this information now. What do I use it for good? Do I use it for evil? How do I interpret this? So now it's on you to make a story that reflects the person greatly.
Wow. Mic drop moment. Keith, okay,
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
this is something that we discussed backstage. Wow, backstage.
Wow.
So, okay, this question is how important as a creator to have freedom, like ultimate freedom on creating your content. I think you compared your previous job to your current job. You know, like
Yeah.
how, like the difference of having the full freedom as a creator. You know how it elevates your craft. You know, so how important it is to have full freedom of.
I wouldn't say full freedom, but I think the right word to use is trust. Because as creators, working with companies. So again, let's take a look at the word creator. When you create, that means that you can craft or find a way out of something. So, in Tagalog, madiskarte ka.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are stories that require that surgical precision. Maybe it's controversial. Maybe it's maybe it's a taboo topic.
Yeah.
So I think the freedom that many creators need and deserve is that allow us to don't just say no. When I propose a story to you that might look controversial on at face value, give me the space and the grace to craft my way out of telling it. Because sometimes when we look at certain stories, like for example, there's this man who's been stuck in the UAE for 32 years because he has some pending court cases. In any other given day, that story would never see the light of day. But I figured, you know what, his story needs to be told. He deserves that much. So there has to be a way to craft that story without stepping on anyone's toes, and that's the real challenge for many creators.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's not free. Freedom is needed, but also we need that space and that grace to be crafty.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, Keith, I want to go back to going back to what you mentioned about losing your job, right? I mean, it sucks, right? I lost my job. I lost my clients. You know, I almost lost everything. And I want to go back to what you mentioned. You lost your job. You were on a sofa or
Parents'
whatever.
couch, yeah.
Parents' couch. So, what are the things you've learned during those times that you applied today? Like, is there any, like, you know, like, I don't know, like, is there something that maybe you dreamt of something during that time, or any life lesson that you came up that you applied until today?
Man, pwede ko pag-isipan.
Yeah, hard pressure, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure.
Because I believe those kind of moments are the greatest teachers.
Yes, exactly.
Right? You know?
And I'll be spitballing here and I'll be freestyling kasi
Yeah, no worries.
the very first when you asked me the question, the very first thing that came to mind was the first night I was sleeping on my parents' couch. And I was looking at the ceiling fan and all I could think of was, how should I hang myself over there? Because for you to understand why I thought of that, you have to understand who I was with Kalish time. So they paid me $5,000 and it was the best $5,000 I ever had. Because with that $5,000 I got my first car. I was able to travel the world alone. So, and you know, I had the ability to buy material possessions for myself. So I was riding a high. And I thought that when I had this job opening in Abu Dhabi, it would be another high because it would have been a fun job. They were it was a lifestyle magazine. That would mean like free food, like, you know, just do restaurant reviews, eat at this nice place, yada yada yada. And it was a new city to me.
Yeah.
I was so bright eyed, and then, you know, all of a sudden it gets whooped under you.
Yeah, right.
So that's why I felt what I felt, and I'm always reminded of that moment because I realized that I should keep going. You should keep going, and it at the risk of sounding cliche, you know, if I had given up by then I didn't even know that there was this whole life ahead of me, and I think my fault back then was that I planned way too much, and that I had to be like this. I'm a writer. I'm a journalist. That's my only pathway. But now when I look at everything that's happened to my life, it kind of makes sense. That okay, so I had this job in the newspaper, and I learned that the story comes first. The story comes first before restrictions, before reservations, or being conservative. That's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 with Tag, how to do social media. Because before Tag, I just thought of social media as just a way to like interact with friends, hang out, like
Dance.
to dance, slide into someone's DMs.
Yeah.
And then now with Emirates Loves, it's a culmination of everything before it and more.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, having this podcast, like I've interviewed so many creators. There's one thing in common. Most of them is the success stories from literally from scratch. Everyone has these resilient kind of stories that they never given up. They went through shit during part of their life and almost given up, but then, you know, eventually by being resilient, then they became one of the most successful creators here in the region, you know.
And it's surprising because resilience is not just, I know resilience is always attributed to Filipinos, but it's great to see that it's a universal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think creators have? Why? I don't know why. I think creators is natural born resilient. I don't know. Have you noticed it?
Yes.
I don't. Do you have any answer? I'm just. It always baffles me. Like, every creator that I talk to, there's always this kind of story. I don't know why. I don't know.
Okay, so let's I think
Let's analyze.
I think let's work on this together.
Yeah,
Kasi
yeah, right?
the first thing that came to my mind is that when you look at the masters of the past, you're talking yung Italian Renaissance, like Da Vinci, Michelangelo. Those guys did not do their masterpieces on day one.
True.
So
Exactly.
I think that's where the resilience comes from. Is that
Could be,
you're not gonna nail it from the get go.
Okay.
If you do that, you're an exception, and ikaw na.
Yeah.
But nor creators, like majority of us, we don't nail it from the get go. And I was also reminded by your story, bro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, true.
You were your story amazes me.
Yeah.
I keep repeating it to my dad. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, in Dubai, there's I could mention like at least four going back to scratch moments in my life here in Dubai. So I've been through that 4 times, I could say. So yeah, again, I don't know. For me, it's just another day, another challenge.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's that. Like creatives wherever you are, like whether you're doing music or you're doing painting, you don't nail it the first try. I mean, let's say Bob Dylan, the Beatles. The Beatles is a good example of that. They were 3. And I think one of their records flopped like early on. No. There's this meme that always goes around, diba? They went to a record company and they were rejected, saying they're not gonna amount to anything. And the next thing you know, they're the Fab Four.
yeah.
So I think it's that.
Yeah. Okay, so something that I always ask also to my guests, let's talk about motivation, because I believe as a creator, you need to have a deep motivation in whatever you do in life, not just for content creation,
I
but
agree.
whatever you do in life. To be able to successful, you have to be motivated by something big, something great. So for you, what is your greatest motivation right now?
To tell a story. I remember when I was in university and when I was studying literature, and I began to wonder, like, why did I even take this course in the first place? And all I ever wanted to do since I was a kid was to tell a story and have people listen. And when I was in my first job, I was reading this comic book series called Zen Pencils. It's a shame that he stopped creating, but his website is still there. It's Zen Pencils, and it's basically he takes all these famous quotes and passages and turns them into comic strips. And there's one that stuck with me until now. It's from Alan Watts. This I think he's a philosopher or some such. So basically, the gist of it is that he was in a class. He's asking all these students, like, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do with your life if money was no object? So people say, oh, I want to train horses. I want to become an astronaut. Da 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 da. But then Alan says, so what's stopping you? Money, the lack of it. And then in what he says, he just says, you know what? Go do that. Forget the money, because if you do that, you eventually gain mastery of whatever it is. And then with that mastery comes the financial aspect. When you become a master of it, like case in point, like with yourself, when you become a master of your craft, you eventually find the ways and the means to get paid for it.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, that is why I just want to tell a story. Like even now, even with the page I'm making, like when I started that page this year, I never thought like, oh, I'm gonna make this because I need to make money. No, it started from okay, I have all these stories that all these people that I contacted with Emirates Loves that I cannot do because it's a company, there's rules, so there are certain stories that we have to turn down. But for me, I believe in it so much that they deserve a time in the sun. It all started with that. I just wanted to bring all these stories out into the public because I believe that in this world that we live in, we need purpose. We need some, we need stories that inspire us. I know there's a lot of that going on right now, and stories to unite us.
I like the answer, the short answer to tell a story. If you would ask me the same question, I would tell you to inspire people. Hence the name of the podcast. Hello, Jersey Inspires.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having this platform, I think helps me inspire more people. I mean, for me, I don't. I'm not even. I'm not really looking forward to have a million followers. For me, if I can inspire one people, if I can change one person's life, that's enough. Every time a person comes to me and tell me, "Hey, I started photography because of you." Hey, you made me smile today.
Yes.
Hey, I like your picture. Oh, it made me go out and take sunset picture because of you.
Those are the greatest things that you can say to a creator, and it
Yes.
comes from the most unexpected of places. Like, I mean, just going back to our conversation earlier, that's why I'm until this to this day I'm so uncomfortable when people recognize me outside of it. Because when we create, we're so introverted, and then and then suddenly and then we're throwing out our craft into the public. So inadvertently, we're also putting ourselves out there. But truth be told, and you should admit this, we want our work to be public, but our lives to be otherwise.
That's true.
That's
That's true. That's true.
diba? So that's why it humbles me, because these comments, they don't just come from people high up there. They come from everyday folk that you see on the street. I've experienced this. They could be the one filling up your gas tank. They could be the one like serving you food. They could be like a nanny like that you meet in a public event. And that's why I think the first time someone asked for my picture, and I was simply walking to grab a chai from my office to Museum of the Future. There's like an underpass. Tapos,
the underpass.
there's this tourist that was like, "You're that guy," and I'm like, "What?" Yeah, can I take a picture with you? I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I'm like, "Oh, why?"
Yeah, right.
And why do you want to take a photo with me? Like, what did I do? And it's both humbling, and I know I always address it with self-deprecating humor, but it's my way to keep myself on the ground, because that's what that's what I learned from my family. What my grandparents told me is that even if no matter how high you go, you gotta stay on the ground.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So Keith, let's close this podcast
Yes,
by
indeed.
is there anything you want to tell to our fellow content creators? Is there any lessons or word of wisdom you want to tell them?
Like yeah. So what I want to say is there are three things that I believe every content creator should do and adhere to. It's not like hard and fast rules. So number one, the story comes first. Like, if you believe in a story, even if your client or your boss or your whatever, your management does not believe in it, and you believe in it, you will find a way to craft that story in a compelling manner. That's point number one. Point number two, have lunch, because seriously.
Have lunch.
Yeah, have lunch. Point number two, because number one, you're hungry. Number two, there are millions of people who are sitting in that same pantry, just like you, watching a video. So you have to be that person that they're watching. Make it a point, and from there you learn that if you're watching this, then there must be something that is working for that guy that you must learn to take as your own.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, number three, storytellers, we take on that, and it's so it when you look at it that way, it humbles you, and it helps you, it compels you, it pushes you to craft a better story. It pushes you to edit it in a certain way, to polish it in a certain way, that because now you have a human aspect that, oh, I have to make my guest proud of this. That when he or she sees it, she's like, whoa, I did not expect you to do it this way, and it is emotionally gripping. You captured my story in like in a 1 minute or 3 minute, and I could not believe you could have done it. So yeah,
Yeah.
storytellers take on that.
Okay. I want to end this episode by saying that right after this episode, I will never see storytelling the same way ever
Oh,
again.
thank you,
know,
thank you.
you gave me a completely different perspective of how storytelling should be, or the meaning of storytelling, which I mean, very interesting. Very I admire. I admire this episode, man. It's like
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
lesson after lesson after lesson. So wow. I mean, again, this is why I love this podcast. Having this great minds, great creators,
Thank you
in
so
front
much.
of me, learning from them. So yeah, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
You
Jairus.
inspired me, and I hope I'm pretty sure you will be inspiring a lot of creators out there. So Keith, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And
it
we'll
is
see-
an-
we'll share-
it
share
is
there.
an honor to be here.
Bro. Woo.
Woo.